people like me. You need people like me so you can point your f***ing fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Okay, we'll start with this. The latest as it pertains to the ongoing investigation via the NYPD and Usyk decided to coat Sandy Ryan with red paint on her way to the fight with Mikaela Mayer this weekend. The NYPD have confirmed that they are investigating a number of incidents, including the paint attack that occurred throughout the day of my fight in New York City last Friday. Due to the nature of these incidents and additional threatening anonymous messages sent to members of my team, I was advised to leave New York for my own safety as early as possible, and I am now back in the UK. Obviously, the paint attack has received a lot of coverage, but I was also subjected to a disgusting and pathetic smear campaign on fight day where hundreds of leaflets featuring my image and defamatory text was distributed and posted on the streets surrounding my hotel and Madison Square Garden, both before and after the fight. I think everyone can draw their own conclusions on who could possibly have benefited from these incidents. They were clearly premeditated, and based on the CCTV footage available, there were multiple people involved in carrying them out. My opponent likes to paint herself as a role model for young boxers, so I would have thought she or her team would have put out their own definitive statement since the fight to distance themselves from these incidents. However, as of yet, she's had very little to say on it, which is ironic given how much talking she did about me in the build-up of the fight. As for me, I was never gonna pull out of the fight. I've got too much pride, and I've worked too hard to let incidents as pathetic as these force me out of a fight, especially when that fight gave me the opportunity to fulfill a dream of headlining a card at MSG, live on ESPN. I felt the fight itself was close, but I thought I did enough to retain my title. ESPN had me winning by 2 rounds, and I know many other respected boxing observers also had me winning the fight. In light of everything that's happened, I believe that an immediate rematch should be ordered. I have dedicated my life to this sport, and am very grateful for the opportunities it has given me. Boxing deserves so much more than this kind of thuggery. I can guarantee that this will not break me and makes me more determined than ever to leave my mark on this sport over the years to come. Finally, I want to thank everyone who has offered their support since the fight, and to the many great people and boxing fans I met in New York last week. I received nothing but love from them, and I hope to return to headline again at MSG in the future. Sandy. Sandy's a beautiful girl and a beautiful person. She doesn't deserve to be treated like that on foreign soil, any more than any American fighter would deserve to be treated like that while traveling for a fight. So Sandy's been waiting on Team Mayer to speak up, say something, tell the world you weren't involved in what happened. Eventually they did. George Ruiz, Mikaela's manager, said, "I'm compelled to respond to your latest round of baseless accusations. Let me be clear. No one associated with Team Mayer had anything to do with the paint assault on you or the leaflets and the alleged anonymous threatening messages you say you received." Mikaela and Team Mayer immediately condemned the paint assault. We encourage a thorough and detailed investigation by the NYPD of the incident that includes a careful review of any hotel CCTV and street camera footage. Mikaela and Team Mayer want the perpetrators found, caught, and punished to the fullest extent of the law. Further accusations against Mikaela and Team Mayer will only diminish your extraordinary performance in the ring that night and make you look like you're making excuses for the loss. You'd be better served by looking at your own corner. Is George implying that someone on Sandy's own team would go as far as spreading leaflets, making defamatory comments about Sandy? For what reason? Why would they do this? What do we not know? Most people are pointing to somebody who's in the loop, somebody who's in the know, because unbeknownst to most, there's a designated time that the fighters are set to leave out of their hotels and make their way to the ring. Only certain people would have known about this.
The fighters and their teams.
And you have to use your common sense. You have to be realistic. We're talking about a women's boxing match in the United States. A women's boxing match. One of the fighters ain't even American. She's from the UK. Sandy is not well known enough in this country that some random fan, some morbid individual would go to these lengths.
Take it upon themselves to spread a bunch of leaflets all around the hotel, wait for her outside of the hotel?
Sandy just does not have that kind of a profile in this country to where you can chalk this up to some morbid fan acting on his own or their own.
A random fan? No, this was coordinated. Moreover, it was premeditated.
So maybe Michaela wasn't involved, Michaela herself, and maybe not her immediate team, her corner, her cut man, her manager, maybe they weren't.
Somebody was.
Somebody knows. So did Michaela Mayer have any friends in town for the fight that night? Any old buddies? Any old pals?
I noticed that Virginia Fuchs and O'Shea Jones were in town.
Virginia Fuchs and O'Shea Jones, oh, they go way back with Michaela Mayer. Who would have known what hotel Sandy was staying in to paper the surrounding streets with all those leaflets? How would they have known what time she was going to leave the hotel to make her way to the garden?
This is an inside job.
Whoever did this was privy to inside intel that only the fighters and their teams would have known. Question how much time and attention the NYPD are going to give this particular case when they have so much more going on than just this. But you don't need to be Columbo. You don't need to be Telly Savalas to figure out this is an inside job.
Somebody knows.
Somebody knew. On super middleweight news, I happened to come across a commercial featuring none other than Canelo Alvarez himself for the very popular game Call of Duty. I'm sure that you've heard of it. Apparently, they so decided to use Canelo in one of their ads. You don't often see that in this day and age. Boxers doing commercials. By my count, this has to be at least the second or the third commercial I've seen Canelo Alvarez in. I know he did one with Sly Stallone. He had a Super Bowl commercial.
We used to see a lot of this in previous eras of boxing. It was more commonplace, like Sugar Ray Leonard and Roberto Duran. I think that was a Sprite commercial or a 7-Up commercial. Larry Holmes and Sugar Ray Leonard.
That was a car commercial. Marvin Hagler in a pizza commercial. I even remember Peter McNeely. Peter McNeely was in a pizza commercial as well. Of course, George Foreman.
He did commercials. Canelo's doing commercials.
But because Canelo Alvarez is the only fighter you see doing commercials these days, it further accents what I'm always telling you, that he is in fact the face of boxing in this era, and it's not even close. These other guys they like to attach to him, like Ryan Garcia or Gervonta Davis.
The people in the American media like to gaslight the boxing community at large, pretending like this is a race, like there are other fighters in the running to be the face of boxing when it's Canelo and nobody else. It's Canelo in this country, and it's not even close.
Why do they do it? Why do they pretend that fighters like Gervonta Davis or Ryan Garcia are in the running with Canelo Alvarez when no company, no major brand is going to want to associate themselves with a degenerate woman beater like a Gervonta Davis? I mean, every time this butterball has a run-in with the law, it's because he put his hands on some broad.
Without fail.
If it's not a domestic abuse dispute, he's slamming cars he shouldn't be driving because he doesn't have a license into pregnant women. Not a guy you want to associate with your brand. Oh, the degenerate crowd that are derelict of any moral fiber, that stuff might not bother them. But the productive people, the people that spend money, that have money.
Not these pieces of shit online and their opinions.
Not these clout-chasing content creators that are willing to brown nose in order to gain access. The real people with the real dollars.
The people you're trying to sell these shitty pay-per-views to.
I mean, the whole time that they've been trying to convince me and you that Gervonta is in the running to become the face of boxing, or he has usurped Canelo as the face of boxing, I've never once seen him do a commercial spot.
For anything.
Ryan Garcia, for a little while, he was on his way. I remember he had a Gatorade sponsorship or something like that. He was in a commercial, but I don't think that will be the case moving forward due to his racist, Islamophobic tirade. Not a guy you want to associate with your brand unless you want your brand boycotted.
Unless you want people to stop supporting your brand because you attached it to him.
Canelo is the face, and this is yet another glaring example, as if the money his fights generate weren't enough.
His fight with Edgar generated more than Gervonta Davis's last fight and more than Ryan Garcia's last fight.
You don't often hear it said that Canelo does have a somewhat squeaky clean image. Clean enough that advertisers can use him without fear that it will hurt their brand. And so many of the shenanigans we see in the American boxing scene are done in the name of marketing and promotion, appearing unstable, a bad boy, like Ryan, like Gervonta.
Oddly enough, you guys don't make what Canelo Alvarez makes, so what's that worth?
Being dysfunctional, being the way that they are. The latest seems to indicate that Canelo Alvarez might return to action at least one more time before this year is out in Japan on, get this, the same show as Naoya Inoue versus Goodman. Luke Thomas of Morning Combat says they're definitely saying the deal is going to be finalized in the next few days and that Canelo is fighting on the same show as Inoue. We know that Inoue's fights are broadcasted here in America via ESPN.
In the wee hours of the morning.
At no additional charge, you get those fights as part of your ESPN Plus subscription because the fight is happening in Japan. In the wee hours of the morning here in America, I don't get the sense that it's going to be a pay-per-view, that we will have to pay-per-view to see it just because it involves Canelo. You can't sell a pay-per-view in the wee hours of the morning.
Who he's gonna be fighting? I don't know. Maybe some kickboxer making a crossover? I heard something about Ryota Murata, but Ryota Murata hasn't fought since the Golovkin fight, and that was what, 2 years ago?
I don't know. It really doesn't matter because at this point, for somebody as accomplished as Canelo, as accomplished as he already is, whatever he's doing now, these are side missions.
He's already a first ballot Hall of Famer if he retires right now. So whatever he's doing right now, it's just bonus rounds.
Side missions, and I don't blame him. He's earned the right to choose, earned the right to do what he wants to do. If anybody has in this era, he has. And if you don't like it,
who cares?
Because I don't like you, you piece of shit. Finally, in men's heavyweight news, Daniel Dubois' trainer, Don Charles, calls Alexander Usyk a fake, a liar, and a cheat as he dares him to take a rematch. Though a second fight could be on the table if Usyk beats Fury in their rematch, during an interview, Dubois' trainer, Charles, did on Talk Sport Fight Night on Saturday night, he addressed this possibility, saying, "Everything was stacked up against us. We knew about it. We knew about everything," he said, of the first fight. This is actually personal. I shouldn't make it personal. It's always about the fighters. And it still is about the fighters. I don't get in the ring to take the punches or give the punches. Mr. Usyk is fake. Exceptional boxer, masterful boxer, a genius of what he's done and what he can do. But he's a fake, and he's a liar, and a cheat. Asked to explain his remarks, Charles continued, "It's well documented. He's a guy who says he's a God-fearing man. He's always crossing himself. This is going out to Usyk. If you believe in the same God that I and the world population do, what we refer to as God, one of the 10 commandments is you cannot cheat. That's against one of the 10 commandments."
The success is going to his head.
Immediately after the Anthony Joshua fight, Don Charles sat down with Radio Raheem, and he started off by saying that he's not a bitter man, and then he starts trashing Ben Davison's coaching methods.
So he's not a bitter man, or so he claimed.
Near as I can tell, he's letting the success he's having with Daniel go to his head because he's tearing into everyone, every chance he gets. Where do you get that Usyk is a fake or a fraud over a call that he couldn't make himself? It's not up to Usyk what is a low blow and what isn't. It was up to Louis Pabon, the third man in the ring, and he made that decision in a split second. So if you want to be mad at someone, you should be mad at him because it was his call to make. If he ordered for Usyk to rise to his feet and started counting, it's his call to make. It's all at his discretion, not yours, not Daniel's, and certainly not Usyk's. Don Charles is not a rational man, and we're finding that out. No, he's an emotional man, a petulant man.
A petulant child.
He said, make your mind up. Do you worship God or not? Because if you do, the cheating and the acting he did when Daniel dropped him, he should win an Oscar for that acting. Regarding whether he thinks Usyk attempted to get Dubois disqualified, Charles answered, disqualified? I don't think disqualification was in his mind. The man was gone. He was gone. I know what I saw live. I didn't need no replays. I know what I saw live.
So do a lot of other people. And a lot of other people will tell you the punch was low. It came in low.
I've maintained, and I still maintain, that it was Daniel Dubois' intention to hit Usyk with a borderline shot. It was his intention to hit him low. That's what I think, and I stand by that, just as much as Don Charles wants to stand by Usyk's acting.
Well, it's either he's writhing in agony from the punch, or he's acting. So which one is it, Don? Because one minute you're saying that he was gone, and the next minute you're saying he was acting.
Concluding the conversation, Charles welcomed a potential rematch, saying, yeah, if that presents itself, our focus isn't on that. No, it's not. Our focus is not on meeting Alexander Usyk, but should that materialize, I dare him, Usyk, to get in the ring with Daniel Dubois.
He already did, and he beat him. He sent him to the canvas 2 times, he stopped him.
You haven't stopped crying about it since, because you're an emotional man, a bitter man, a petulant man. That's what you are. One minute you say that he's writhing in agony, that the man was gone, but at the same time you're telling people that he was acting, that he was faking it.
So then which one is it? Not that it matters, because it wasn't his call to make anyway. It was Louis Pabon's, and if you saw the fight in real time, he made that call in a split second.
The truth is that Don Charles is letting Daniel's success go to his head. It's what immediately came to mind as he tore into Ben Davison the day after the fight, and I was just thinking to myself, Ben's got more going on than just working with Anthony Joshua. He works with a lot of fighters, and he's had a lot of success with a lot of those other fighters. You want to discredit him because one guy lost? What? None of your fighters ever lost the fight, Don.
Daniel better not, the way you're carrying on.
Oh, so all your fighters must be undefeated then, right, Don?
Huh?
Daniel better not lose moving forward. As much shit as you're talking about, as many people as you're talking about, Daniel better not lose, and I'm afraid that he will.
What I saw in that fight was the Daniel Dubois that I expected to show up. He's going to come forward. He's going to let punches go. He's going to be aggressive. What I didn't expect is that Anthony would box so poorly, moving back in straight lines and
Chin in the air, hands down, not protecting himself. Too many defensive lapses in judgment for one with the pedigree and professional accolades of an Anthony Joshua. Now, you upset the naysayers. You beat the odds. You beat Anthony. But there's more going on at heavyweight than just Anthony. He's not the only guy you gotta worry about. He's not the only obstacle you gotta go through. And the way you're carrying on,
you need to calm down.
You need to pump the brakes. Because the minute that Daniel Dubois loses another fight, if you're the one in his corner, you're gonna be subject to all the criticism that you have for everybody else.
Has working with Don been good for Daniel? Yes, it absolutely has, but the same holes, the same deficiencies are still there. And even if Anthony wasn't the one to exploit it,
somebody else can. Somebody else will. You think Daniel's gonna go the rest of his career and he never loses a fight again? Is that what you think?
Better wake up and smell the delusions.
You're getting ahead of yourself. You're getting carried away. You've been in this game long enough that you need to calm down.